Hey, it's John and welcome to the garage. Today we're going to be working on a 2000 Viper GTS and we will be changing the radiator hoses and the heater core hoses today. The car is a 2000 model. It's got about 17,000 miles on it. So passing the 20-year mark on factory hoses, kind of pushing the luck a little bit. So we're going to work on changing those out today. So let me show you what we're starting with. So originally, when I was looking at the hoses, they looked really nice, but I kind of had a revelation. I'm working on another project car as well, a 1979 Ferrari 308 GTS. So in the process of rehabbing that car, I've been reworking the fuel lines and the brake booster lines and the coolant lines. And these are little samples of what I've actually taken off. So let me show you. So the hoses look really, really good from the outside. I mean, they're pliable and they look really nice, right? Okay, that same section of hose I cut in half, and check this out. Look at the inside of that. So that kind of got me thinking, wow, I've got 20 years on that Viper and original hoses. It's about time. Look at the inside of this one too. This is a coolant line that comes off the block right off the manifold and then goes up to the front heater core boxes. This is a mid-engine car. So even the fuel lines, they're a little rough too. The brake booster that goes from the back of the car all the way to the front of the car comes off the manifold and goes up to the brake booster. It even looks good. It's a cloth wrapped hose, which is what normally Ferrari does. But it actually is starting to crack when you squeeze on it. You can actually expose some of the crack. You can see some of the cracking there at the end of the profile of the hose. So with all this coming to light on that car, I started taking a closer look on the Viper and said, it's about time. So on the quest to get hoses, that's a whole nother thing. Viper parts, as you know, are very hard to get. So I've been beating the forums up and seeing what I can find there, and then call one of my trusty sources over at the parts rack, John B. Most people in the Viper community know who he is. He got me these hoses here. These are the upper and lower radiator hoses. So I've got these guys now to do. And he doesn't offer the other hose kits because they're so specific. So the other ones I had to go to Snake Oil Products or Viper Parts USA, and they have two kits on the Viper on this model year because it's like a split year apparently with some of the mechanical changes they made. Some of the earlier GTSs need a different hose configuration, and so depending on when the car was made determines which hose kit you need. But the guys up there will send you a cut sheet, picture showing you the different hoses that they have. And then you just have to ID which ones you need based on what you see under the hood. So this is the hose kit that I need for this particular engine right here. And they can help you with that. And they have pictures of both the A and B kits. These are going to be standard issue no matter what you need, but it's this one that's very particular. Now, along with this, Parts Rack supplied me with these lined hose clamps for the rad hoses here, which are great. But I didn't get any hose clamps with these, and I don't want to go back and use the factory spring band clamps. So I went down to local Napa and I bought some size 12 lined hose clamps. If you look inside here, it's actually they're stainless steel and they got a liner in here that keeps the serrations from eating into the silicone hose, which causes damage and leaks. So I've got those clamps there. So with all the tools here, we're ready to get going. So let's get under the hood and get this job going. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop the hood and we're going to pull the radiator cap off to ease the draining of the radiator. So I'm just going to come right in here and grab this radiator cap, pop this off, and then that'll help on the draining of the radiator. Okay, so now we're going to get underneath and then start draining all the coolant. So now we got the car up on the lift. Let's get up underneath here and see what we're going to be working with. So here's our actual drain plug right here for the radiator. There's the upper hose coming in right there. And here's our lower hose coming in right over here. Okay, so I have my drain pan ready, and I'm using a 1/4-inch hex driver here. Here we go. Try not to take a bath. There we go. I'm gonna let that drain out. Looks pretty clean because I just did this. I did a fluid change 2 years ago. So it's looking pretty good. Now we have this thing down to a slow trickle. I'm gonna go ahead and put the plug back in so it's not draining all over my floor. And then I'm gonna pull the lower radiator hose off. So I'm just gonna put that in there just finger tight like that. Now I'm gonna move over to the other side here, and we're going to disconnect the big radiator hose, the lower radiator hose. Clamp pliers here. I'm going to get this clamp open here a little bit. There we go. And man, do these little boogers make it so much easier. Sometimes it's bonded on the bottom of this radiator pretty good, the rubber. So if this gives me too much more static, I'm going to get a utility knife out and just cut that hose so I don't damage the radiator trying to peel it off because it's been on so long. Yeah, so that hose is pretty well stuck on there, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I just put a little bit of a slit in there, enough that I can break this thing free without stressing the radiator connection. There we go. So we're loose. Now be prepared for the deluge from the block. There we go. You'll see that there. Okay. There is a spring inside this hose that we're going to have to retrieve and use in the new hose kit. So there's a lower radiator hose right there. Now we're going to go back where it attaches up on the block and get that one, and that's a little bit more of a booger. Okay, so now we're back topside, and we're going to take off the air box assembly so we can get easier to the lower radiator hose where it comes out of the block. So first we're going to do our air intake tubes. Pull it off the intake manifolds there. Yep, okay. Undo the airflow sensor there. That hose is off. You got an anchor point down here on the cross member. Thumb screw. There's that. 2 thumb screws up here. And this will make it so much easier to get to the upper radiator hose and that lower. There we go. Here we go, and out it comes. Now I can get right down to this lower radiator hose right here below the cross member. So I'm gonna try to sneak in and see if we can get a better image of that. All right, this is a tough angle for you guys to see, but the hose is right here. See, it goes right underneath this bar down to the lower portion of the radiator. So I'm trying to sneak up underneath here, under the oil cooler here. There we go, got it all. Okay. Like I said, man, that one was tough. Okay, so now I'll try, see if I can get this one. Here we go, it's coming off without having to cut it. So here it is, the old radiator hose. Success. Okay, now I got the lower hose off. I'm going to get this spring out of here. This spring just keeps it from collapsing under load. Twist it clockwise, I can kind of compress it just a little bit. I'm going to take these clamps off first. These clamps are nice because they have a locking mechanism on there to help hold it open without a lot of stress on your hands. There we go. Yeah, it comes out easier that way. There we go. So now I'm just going to clean this thing up a little bit. Get some of the heavy corrosion off of it. There we go. Looks pretty good. Next step is we're going to get it inside that hose. So here's the new section of hose here. So now we're actually going to put it in here. Give it a clockwise turn so it kind of compresses and goes in. There we go. Hose is back in place. There it is right here in the corner. So there we go. So the spring's back in place. Now this one's ready to go back on the car. We've got the spring support inside the hose. We're going to get the hose in position and get the top side on here. Orient it underneath that cross member there. There we go. It's a lot easier to put them on than it is to take them off. There it goes. That one's on the top. I'm going to grab my hose clamp for the bottom and put the hose clamp facing down so I can snug it up from the bottom. Okay. Now we're going to try to work this bottom one back on. All right, I'm going to try to get a rag on that sucker, dry it off a little bit. There, that got it. And I'll tighten that up from down below, but I'm going to get it on here. Now I can twist the hose and get it where it needs to be so it's not binding on anything. Slide it back just to get enough clearance from this cross member, this sway bar here, whatever this is. And make sure I have clearance between the steering rack. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten this top one up. All right, there's the lower radiator hose. Now we're going to look at getting this upper one out of here while we're at it. All right, now I'm going to tackle the upper hose here. joint effort to squeeze and pull. Maybe I need to change my plan of action. Do the upper one first, where it connects to the block. Okay, we're gonna try this one now. Come on. Take it inward. How's that? Okay. There we go. Okay. Now I do the same thing with this one. I'm gonna take it to the inside. See if I can get it off that way. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Okay, now we're going to put the new one on. Gotta take these old clamps off still. Should be a little easier now without the friggin' hose. Believe it or not, they still wouldn't get over the neck of the engine block without compressing them. This one should be no, well, still need to compress that one. Now we're going to get this new radiator hose on here. Now I'm going to try to rotate them just to take the stresses off of it where it needs to be and make sure it's clearing this cross member here. And the spring, that looks pretty good right there. Now we're going to snug these guys up. There we go. So I've got those temporarily snugged up before I get torque on them. Make sure everything's good. And then the bottom one we got to tighten up. And then we already put this back together. So I'm going to go get my wrench and we'll snug them up. There we go. Doing 15 inch-pounds as per recommended. And I'm right there from the manufacturer. There we go. Okay, those are snugged up and ready. So now I can actually get on to the rest of these pipes that we need to do. So I'm going to work on the next batch here.